Stranger Things Season 4 has finally ended as all of us have seen Volume 2, so what should we do next? Well, I've already ranked all the seasons, I've already ranked all the characters, I've already talked about the season. Well, now I want to talk about my top 10 things I do want to see in Season 5. Some of these are predictions, some of them are theories, but overall, I just want to talk about the 10 things that I really need to happen in Season 5, the final season. And I definitely want to hear your guys' thoughts down below in the comment section, so leave that comment down there, as well as hit that like and subscribe button so we can keep talking more movies and TV over here on a daily basis. Coming down at my number 10, we are going to be diving back in, and I really need them to tie into that episode from Season 2 about Cali, and really much just, where's the backup in there? Why did they help her with Vecna? I imagine that this is the time to kind of tie back into there. And will they? I don't know if they will. This is kind of more up in the air for me if they will ever relate back to that episode. It's the one episode that either people loved or hated. I'm in the middle of it. I just want to see how it was executed and going forward. I think there is a unique thing in there. But even in the flashbacks within this season, they barely, you can barely tell Callie's in there. So this is one of the things I want to see, but I don't know if it actually will. Coming down on my number 9, one of my favorite things that I used to love seeing in Stranger Things was what was the new creatures. You know, the first season introduced the Demogorgon, second season introduced the Demo Dog, and of course the Mind Flayer. We get a little bit more of the Mind Flayer in the third season, Vecna. Are we going to get any new monsters, any new creatures that Vecna might be stirring up and creating? That's some of my favorite aspects of Stranger Things, and I do hope that they go ahead and introduce maybe some new creatures that Vecna has stirred up and created, since now that the Upside Down is leaking into our actual world. I love that thought, and I'm really curious to see what developments and what creatures we might be getting in the next season. Now, my number 8, please keep the run times the exact same you did for Season 4. It was a big word of mouth when they started coming out that each episode was going to be about like an hour and 15, hour 30, and even the finale was 2 hours and 22 minutes. I love that they took their time with this, and maybe, was it a little bit dragged out? Sure. But I would prefer that than to what Disney Plus has been doing with a lot of their shows, where it's like 35 minutes to 45 minutes. No, take your time telling these stories, and I hope Stranger Things learns from this as well and continues to give us that. Now again, if the scripts and the story given aren't supposed to be that runtime, that's okay, but do not rush your story. We've seen how many times with, like, say, Game of Thrones when they rushed their final seasons, and look how that turned out. Now at my number 7, 11 has to get new powers to take on Vecna. It just seems like she started to get really strong towards the end of this last season. So what's the next thing she could do? Maybe train to get some new powers. I think with her connection to that world of trying to find Max at the end of that season is going to tie back into that. And honestly, I would not be surprised if one of the kids who was affected by the Upside Down gets powers. Maybe even Will. I think it's time that Noah Schnapp gets something else to do inside the show, because he's a great actor. And he hasn't really had anything to do since Season 2. Maybe that's because they were so tired of torturing the damn kid. But with his feelings and being able to feel for Vecna, that puts him in a play spot. And I do think there's an interesting connection between him and the Upside Down, considering how long he was actually there for. And I think maybe those powers could be affecting him and actually maybe give him something to be able to do. It'd be pretty cool that if Will, a character who's pretty much sidelined for the last 2 seasons, gets powers like that to help 11 and the rest of the team take down Vecna once and for all. At my number 6 now, I have to say, please, as much as I love the ending and how it really much means that everyone, even though they're far apart, will still stick together, please do not separate our main characters that far apart this time around. My favorite aspect of Season 3 was how pretty much the entire character, the entire lineup, they were always all together, working together. No matter what, they were still always in Hawkins. And I'm hoping Season 6, I'm hoping Season 5 continues to have that, and really much not, again, separate. Keep them all together. They're a family. And I think if they would have been together when they were in Season 4, not just trying to help each other from far apart, they would have actually been able to defeat Vecna. But that didn't happen, sadly. So please, 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 do not separate them and send one to Russia, send one to California. We don't need that again. We head over to my top 5, guys. And again, make sure, I gotta remind you guys to hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoy content like this. I just love talking movies and TV over here on a daily basis, and I definitely want to hear your guys' thoughts down below in the comment section. If I missed out on any theories or thoughts that maybe you have for the next season, let me know them down below. Now, at my number 5, one of the things that has been happening a lot with the Stranger Things show is that there are so many characters now that it really much splits time away from a lot of the main characters that we had in Season 1, which were the kids. So please, for this next season, I think the main characters should honestly go back to being the kids. Mike, Will, Dustin, Lucas, 11, and even Max and anyone else that's kind of joined them along the way, but specifically these younger kids that the show started out with them, I think they should be the main characters heading into this next season, and I think it would really much flesh out how the entire season could go, especially considering there's supposed to be a time jump. Now, my number 4, this is just an overall thing. Please do not make us wait 3 years for the next season. I understand that, like, this season was very much worth the wait, but these kids aren't getting younger, and fans are going to be wanting that next season right away. I know I do. And I'm a little bit sad because I'm like, okay, yeah, take your time, because I definitely, like, don't want to lose out on the show yet. But I also want to see where the conclusion's going. I want to see where the story's going. And I'm curious to see where it all heads out next. So, I'm going to predict we're probably going to get it. If it's 2022 right now, maybe they'll start filming by the end of this year, early 2023. I assume we'll get them by the end of 2024. Fingers crossed, right? My number 3, I have to mention, as many characters as there are in this show, the stakes have been a little bit lower. I actually thought this season was going to be the one when people started dying off, but once again, my theory was correct, that a new character that everyone loves was going to die, just like Bob, and that was Eddie Munson, sadly. And for me, I feel like this was the time for maybe to kill off one of the other characters that fan favorites have loved that could possibly maybe even further other characters' developments, whether it's Mike, Will, Dustin, Steve, Lucas, even Max for hell could have died. But again, I don't know what storyline they may be doing for Max and may have planned for her. But for me, when it comes down to the stakes of it overall, there are certain characters in here that I think have run their course of the time, and you gotta hold those stakes up. You gotta kill some people off. Come on, man. It'd be an emotional mess if someone died. Trust me. I know I would. I already get emotional over this damn show for just other stupid reasons, but that's something that needs to start happening. Coming in at my number 2 is something that I started to mention earlier, but it is Will gets more development. He has again been sidelined for 2 seasons. Will needs to make a return, and like I mentioned earlier, maybe he gets powers, maybe he gets something. This is a character that, again, has so many interesting aspects to him. A phenomenal actor behind him. It's just not been used the last 2 seasons, really. So, fingers crossed the next season uses him the most. But at my number 1, the biggest thing that needs to happen, and I actually wish they would have done it with this season, but now they're going to have to figure out how to do it with the next season. And they've already kind of confirmed this one, but this is something still that I'm actually wanting a bigger jump than I think a lot of people are expecting, and that is I want a Titan jump. I want a massive one that helps not just explain the kids' ages, but would really interesting to see how the world has now been affected with the Upside Down leaking into it from the ending that we saw in Season 4. That's what I want. I just think this is a show that hasn't really had a time jump. Maybe a couple months, maybe a couple weeks, but that's about it. They never really dive into the structure of this all. And with these kids looking like they are way out of high school or about to leave high school, it's time to touch on that. And I think while this has already been confirmed, I'm hoping it's not just a year or 2. I'm hoping it's actually like drastically a couple years. And I think actually seeing how they've now been living with the Upside Down affecting their daily lives would be an interesting aspect. So it'd be really cool to see where all of our characters are just in a couple of years. So other than that, guys, that is the top 10 things I definitely want to see in the next season of Stranger Things. Let me know down below what your guys' thoughts are. What do you want to see in the next season of Stranger Things? Any theories, thoughts you want me to touch on? Thank you once again, guys, for watching this. And of course, until next time, stay classy and hit that like and subscribe button for more content.